Welcome to Dan's Talks. My guest today is the new mayor of Southampton, been in office since July, so probably
Correct.
started throwing tomatoes at him yet. And Southampton Village as opposed to town, but that is obvious when it's mayor. And I think what you may have run for mayor before is now you'll be known as Mr. Mayor.
Yes, I guess so.
Probably for the rest of your life, your family, everybody. Anyway, I did want to know, I wanted to know if you were, where you were from originally, and we'll get to more about that. Are you a New Yorker or are you a Southampton?
So yes, I was actually born in New York City, but my father had purchased a house in Southampton Village in 1960. So I started coming out here right when I was born.
Summer person, are you?
That's correct. Early on, and then moved out here full time.
And then I read you went to Trinity and Columbia Business School. Well, how did
That's
you get
correct.
interested in that line of work?
Uh, in which line of work exactly? I'm sorry.
Well, it's looks like business administration and government and interesting background. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, well, actually, I had gone to high school in actually Washington D.C. And it was really during my time in high school in Washington that I became very interested in government and politics. Being right there. Uh, in fact, one of my classmates is now a U.S. senator from the state of Colorado, Michael Bennett. And so it was something that was obviously front and center when I was there. And then when I went to college in Hartford, Connecticut, just across the Sound, I became interested in politics. So I majored in political science there and graduated with a bachelor's with a major in political science. And it was something that I was always interested in. And then when I was wanting to further my education. I didn't want to go to law school. I thought there were too many lawyers. I decided to go to business school and was lucky enough to get into Columbia, and so got my MBA at Columbia, and then went back and forth between working in business as well as holding jobs in the government sphere. I was a trustee of Southampton Village 25 years ago, actually, first elected in 1997 and then again in 1999. And then I held a couple of jobs in Washington, D.C., first at the U.S. Department of Transportation in the Maritime Administration, which actually helps oversee the Merchant Marine Academy at the other end of Long Island in Kings Point, New York. And then more recently, I had 8 years actually at the U.S. Small Business Administration, which, as you may know, helps small businesses access capital and grow their businesses that way. And we were most known during the pandemic for the Paycheck Protection Program, which is where I was during the pandemic, during COVID, and I was very involved with standing up that program, PPP, and getting out over $500 billion to small businesses and not-for-profits across the country during that shutdown across the country, and really saving a lot of small businesses and nonprofits from going under during that period. So I'm very proud of the work that we accomplished then. If you can believe it, Dan, that legislation was passed by Congress and signed into law. And I was told that I had 1 week to have that program operational and have banks able to make those loans to small businesses. And as you know, in the federal government, that's almost unheard of to have a program of that
Right.
magnitude stood up in 1 week. But we actually made the deadline. Within 1 week, banks were able to make those PPP loans to small businesses. and it just obviously was a huge success in getting money out the
Yes, it
door, and that
was.
was the objective, really, to get that money out the door to these businesses that were closed, so that they could make payroll, keep their employees on payroll, pay their utility bills, and either pay their rent or their mortgage payments, so that they could stay in business and stay viable during that shutdown period. So that's really where I was, and then I came back to Southampton in 2021, and then ran for trustee in 2022. After the mayor asked me to head up the update of the comprehensive plan for the village, and was honored to be elected trustee in 2022, and then decided to run for mayor in 2023,
What,
and was honored by the residents of the village to take on that role here, as you said, in July of this year.
well, what motivated you to run for mayor? What was it's certainly not the money because they don't pay very much. I think a mayor is supposed to come in one day a week and make 15,000 a year. That's about it. So
Right.
what
And
got
and
you
I'm
going?
coming in. I'm coming in. Probably 4 days a week, and I'm making less than minimum wage at the salary that the village pays me.
Right.
That is true. No, honestly, it's almost a cliche, but it's a love for the village, and a love for trying to improve this village. And I saw a real need in the village, and we were having some issues here. The board was having some issues, and I felt that I had the experience, having served previously on the village board 25 years ago, as I said, and I felt that I could come in here with my experience and my education, and really make a difference. And I think we've already been able to implement some changes in the village, but I have a lot more that I want to do. I mentioned the comprehensive plan. I would like to see more of the comprehensive plan implemented. And so that's quite an undertaking.
Yep.
The village code hasn't been updated in decades. And so there's a lot of the code that really needs to be updated. And that's going to take some time. So one thing we did was we finally now have in place an in-house village attorney, Eileen Powers, who had been a town of Southampton attorney, and she now is coming into the village hall, actually, a couple days a week, and she's going to help us update village code and really implement the comprehensive plan.
Oh,
And we had been previously working with a law firm that was from further west on Long Island. And our legal bills were really spiraling out of control because we were operating on billable hours. You're familiar with billable hours from attorneys.
I've heard of
They
them.
can they
Whatever you do with the code, leave the one about proper attire in there. Nobody obeys it, but it's just charming, classic, mentioning parts of your body you didn't even know you had.
Exactly. No, I understand what you're saying, but we saw that the village legal bills were getting out of hand
Yeah.
to the tune of several $100,000, and that was just too much. So we've now been able to hire an in-house attorney at
Sure.
an annual salary of $105,000, which is much more reasonable.
Sure, certainly is. What are some of the things that on the near term you're working on that you think need to happen?
Well, we're trying to address the traffic issue, which is first and foremost in a lot of people's mind. And I've been working with the county and the town and even the state. Fred Thiel is trying to help us, especially with the Long Island Railroad, and trying to make some improvements there. But it's there's not a silver bullet that's going to solve this problem. It's really a multi-pronged approach. But the county has put out an RFP, request for proposal, from engineers to look at how we can alter County Road 39 especially as it comes into Southampton here, and see if there's a way to re-engineer it so that it can accommodate more vehicles, or make it actually a smoother ride, and continue the flow of traffic here, instead of the bumper to bumper traffic that we're getting, especially early in the morning going east and late in the afternoon going west. And so that is something I've been working with the county on, to see if there might be a way to maybe add some roundabouts like they have in Riverhead, things like that, instead of having the lights that actually stop the traffic dead on the county road. And to keep it flowing, because that's a main objective, is to keep the traffic flowing at all times, as opposed to coming to a halt when the lights change red. And so things like that, and the possibility of maybe having more lanes in one direction at certain times of the day, and then reversing them at the end of the day to go the opposite direction, as they do in some cities. And in the tunnels going into Manhattan, they have more tubes going in one direction, and then reversing it the other direction at the other end of the day. Things like that really may help, because what we're seeing, Dan, is that Waze, that app that tells people the roads to take, instead of staying on the highway, they're coming now into the heart of the village, and they're taking small residential streets to try and avoid traffic. And now we have bumper to bumper traffic on small residential streets that were never made for this type of traffic at rush hour. I mean, who would have thought we would really have rush hour on small residential streets in Southampton Village? But we do now, and it's really impacting the quality of life of so many of our residents. And we obviously want to do something about that. So we're trying to figure out what are the steps that can be taken at all different levels of government to address this situation that really is affecting everybody here on the East End.
One of the things to keep in mind, I think, is when you're doing roundabouts, they're good that I've seen.
Yeah.
But one in particular, which is a circle, which is the one in Riverhead you talk about, is a nightmare. Yeah. And it's a nightmare. It was built 50, 60 years ago, and it's much too big.
Yeah.
And it's just horrible. But I don't know, it's a little bit like holding back, Moses holding back the water to let the people go, But what else? And talk a little bit about the proposal for the garden. That's front and center right now.
Sure. Well, so John Paulson, who is one of the residents of the village, has come forward with really a very generous gift to the village. He a few years ago purchased 2 lots on Pond Lane that were slated for development. They were slated to be sold for large homes to be built overlooking Lake Agawam, and he decided that he would purchase those lots and save them, preserve them from being developed, so that they could be in effect preserved as open space, as parkland, and his vision is to again have CPF, the Community Preservation Fund, buy one of the lots at the price he paid for it, and then donate the other lot as a gift to the village, and then have that be maintained by the Lake Agawam Conservancy, which is a not-for-profit that was really created to help clean up Lake Agawam, which, as you may know, is one of the dirtiest lakes in all of New York State, because everything from the village business district runs into that lake, unfortunately. And so it's an attempt to then clean up that lake by preventing the road runoff and everything from running into that lake. So part of the proposal was then to turn these properties and the adjacent property along the lakefront where Pond Lane runs into a lakefront park, much the way Agawam Park runs right up to the shores of Lake Agawam.
It
So
seems like a marvelous idea.
no, I mean it really is a very nice idea and a very generous idea. The contention has arisen with the proposal to cease vehicular traffic from traversing Pond Lane, because it's a road that a lot of people like to drive on, into and out of the village. Now, it would still be open to bicycles, joggers, walkers, and park goers. But again, the vision was to have it not have cars running through it, so that the park would run right down to the lakefront. But that's the proposal that John Paulson has made, and the town has gone along with it because the town is needed for the Community Preservation Fund monies to buy this one parcel from the John Paulson Foundation. Now, I might add that there's another whole component to this, Dan, that needs to be explained as well, and that is the cleanup of the lake with the process of having algae harvesters located on the opposite shore of the lake in what is currently Dozier Park, which is adjacent to Agawam Park. It's set in a little bit further to the east. And Dozier Park was purchased some years ago, also with CPF money.
Yep.
But the only way that Dozier Park can be used for that purpose, and again, it would be set up with these algae harvesters, which are basically big filtration systems that would take water out of the lake, clean it, and then redeposit the cleaned water back into the lake. So it's almost like a filter in an aquarium, is the way it's been explained to me. That then the water would be put back into the lake once the harmful algae has been extracted from the water. And so that would be placed in Dozier Park in very close proximity to the lake on the eastern shore. But in order to take that parkland that was purchased with CPF money, it has to be alienated and exchanged or swapped for property of equal or greater value. And what Fred Thiel has done is he has put legislation in Albany to, again, swap or trade the Dozier Park property for the Paulson-owned property on the western shore of Lake Agawam.
Right.
So that, again, the Dozier Park can be used for the algae harvesters to clean the water in Lake Agawam, and in exchange for that park being used for that purpose, which is a good purpose to clean the lake, then the people would get the parkland, which is actually larger and more valuable, on the western shore of the lake in perpetuity as a park. So that is the legislation that he's put forward. I'm sorry, Dan?
I think it's a wonderful idea.
Yeah, so that's been put forward.
Is there anything else you're working on? We don't have too much time left on a short Zoom, but is there anything else right now that you're working on that you think should be mentioned?
Well, another project that I'm trying to do, again, more bioswales in the village for cleaner water. We're doing one right now on the corner of Windmill Lane and Nugent Street. And that is actually cleaning up some of the road runoff on Windmill Lane before it gets to Lake Agawam, because everything runs in a southerly way into Lake Agawam. So that's one. We're going to do some more at Bowden Square. And then I really want to do some additional beautification in the village at the entrance to the village on North Sea Road. as you come off of County Road 39 and you turn into the entrance to the village, because right now, it's a nice road, but it doesn't really say you are here now entering the village of Southampton.
Yeah.
And I would really like to enhance that with some additional trees and plantings and some additional street lights, like we have on Main Street. And I think that I'll be able to do that and really have a much nicer entrance to the village of Southampton. So it really speaks, and says you're entering now the village of Southampton. So I think things like that will really enhance the village, and I'm hoping will attract more people to the village, because we have a great asset here, and I want it to be the best that it can be.
I know Southampton Village, as far as I know, is the only village that has these beautiful white lights on the trees. I know I was in Palo Alto and they have something like that, but they're not on every tree. Or is the goal to take them to every tree and year round, or do they come down after Christmas?
No, that's a very good question. So that's a project that the village started several years ago,
Yep.
and we don't want to have them on every tree. We do them, we space them out a little bit, but we can't leave them on year round, because actually, if you leave them on year round, they can actually choke the tree. If the lights are too tight on the tree, because the trees are still alive and need to expand and grow. So we do have to leave a little space with the lights, and they do have to really. It's better for the tree if they come down during the growing season, and then we put them up during the winter when the trees go dormant. And obviously for the holidays, they look great, and that's when we really put them back up. But it's better that they be a little bit looser on the trunks of the trees and on the branches, so that the trees can expand a little bit. And it's better really, at certain times of the year that we not have the lights on those trees. But that's a good reminder, and I want to remind everybody that the Saturday after Thanksgiving, we have the fire trucks do a parade of lights around the village, and then we have the tree lighting in Agawam Park, which actually is also augmented with fireworks and music, and it's a huge celebration. And I would encourage anybody that wants to come down to the village of Southampton on the Saturday after Thanksgiving. It's really a fantastic celebration, and we welcome the holidays to Southampton Village. And it really it attracts a lot of people. It's almost as big as 4th of July now. Thousands of people come, and I would encourage you, Dan, and the paper and everybody to come, because it's a lot of fun, and everyone really
What
enjoys it.
time during that day does it begin? I presume it
So
has
it's late afternoon. I'm trying to remember exactly what time. I mean, it gets very crowded. So if I would show up at 4 in the afternoon or 4:30, because it gets very crowded, and the parade of fire trucks kicks it off, and then everyone ends up in Agawam Park, and we have the tree lighting and the fireworks, and it's great. But it's all over by I would say early evening. Yeah.
Yeah. There's are they still shutting in the summer? They close down Main Street at certain points. Is that
We
still
actually only at this point closed down Main Street for 4th of
that's right.
July. Most of the businesses like us to keep the streets open now. We did at some point close Job's Lane sometimes, but we mostly keep the streets those streets open now. But there are sometimes special occasions when something comes up that we do shut them down, and sometimes we have road races. We had the marathon actually in September, and certain streets get shut down for the marathon, and that's a qualifying marathon actually for the Boston Marathon, the Southampton Marathon in September. So we do close down certain streets for that. But what we really try and keep the downtown open, especially for the businesses.
Thank you for taking the time to talk to me about some of the things happening in the village, and I'll make it a point to get down there, and I'll say hello to you when I'm down there for the fireworks.
Thanks, Dan. We welcome you anytime. We really
Okay.
appreciate that.
Sure.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
very much. I've enjoyed this.
You too. Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.